this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, and thank you for your comments. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are committed to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, there is a discussion that has gone viral on social media about the Ralph Lauren Oak Bluffs collection, where he is actually highlighting wealthy Black Americans. And some Black people, Black Americans, are taking issue with it because they're saying that that's not who Black people are. We say that we are not a monolith. All Black people are not poor. They never were. Coming out of slavery, many of them hit the ground running, buying land, creating businesses. Booker T. Washington had a whole group called the Negro Business League, where they were encouraged to establish businesses to be self-sufficient all over this country. And that's where Black Wall Street in Tulsa, in Durham, North Carolina, Birmingham, Alabama, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Harlem, New York, Wilmington, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Miami, Florida, all over this country, there were thriving Black communities, communities where Black families were generating wealth. Now, we know what happened to those communities, but they kept rebuilding and they kept thriving. Now, the poverty in Black America is and has always been real, but even to this day, about 85% of Black Americans, and I'm going to give that round figure, are living above the poverty line. We have Black people, we have working class Black families, we have middle class Black families, we have upper middle class Black families, we have wealthy Black families, and not even counting athletes and entertainers. There's always been thriving Black communities, and those thriving Black communities have always looked for recreational outlets, just like any other community. So much emphasis has been placed on the poverty in Black America that people think that most of the poor people in America are Black, when that is not the case. So there are Black people who do want to expand the narrative to include Black people who are not poverty stricken, since only about 15 to 17% of Black people are really living below the poverty line. And I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but I'm simply saying that there are other Black people in America besides poor Black people. And that's what the Oak Bluffs collection is about. So the Ralph Lauren Oak Bluffs collection is part of his Design with Intent, which is an initiative aiming to authentically celebrate American heritage and broaden the brand's storytelling to include historically Black narratives. And in doing so, they are focusing on Oak Bluffs, which is a town on Martha's Vineyard where wealthy Black people have lived and have vacationed since the 1800s. And they're using students, and I guess faculty too, from HBCUs like Spelman, Morehouse, and Howard to showcase their fashions. Now, the reason I'm doing the video is because there are Black people who have a problem with this. They're saying that this does not represent Black life in America. And there are those who say, yes, it does represent Black life in America. It just doesn't represent your life. So I'm going to let you listen to some of the discourse.
Watching the response to Ralph Lauren's new Oak Bluff collection has been one of the most disappointing and wildest things I've seen on social media in a long time. The same people who love music and films about twerking, gangbanging, unaliving people, prostitution, and a bunch of other degenerate behaviors all of a sudden have a problem now with our image being portrayed as this. Y'all scroll the shade room, watch baddies every single day, and don't have a single complaint, but all of a sudden, this is an issue. And I'm seeing people say things like, this doesn't represent us as a people, and I'm so confused because I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Black people have always had pride and dignity when it comes to their fashion and appearance. And this is a prime example. So this is my great-great-great-grandfather right here in the middle. This is my great-great-grandfather. And this is my grandmother's twin brother. These two men here were born in the 1800s. He was born in the early 1930s. This picture was taken in the early 1950s. And these were sharecroppers. These were not wealthy men. But as you can see from their appearance, these are sharp gentlemen. They got on overcoats, suits and ties, nice fedora-style hats. They dress with a sense of pride, respect, and confidence. And what people don't understand is this was the norm in the black community prior to the 1970s. This is a picture of black people in the 1930s, and look at their appearance. Dressed nicely, professionally, they all seem like they got a sense of confidence and pride in their appearance.
And he's right about that. He is right about that. Black people used to take pride in their appearance and how they looked.
What people don't know is this style of dressing, it didn't change until the late 1970s. The civil rights movement gave birth to a new style of Afrocentrism. People started wearing dashikis, afros, leather jackets. It was a different statement of pride at the time. But even then, there was always a class of black people that maintained that classy, professional, preppier look. And then when the 1980s came and hip-hop was on the rise, that's when we see the style kind of make a whole 180. And that's when you start to see more tennis shoes, baggier clothes, gold chains. And a large part of this happened because by this time, a lot of the black families were being torn apart. And a lot of the fathers wasn't in the home anymore due to the crack epidemic, the welfare system, mass incarceration, and all that impacted how people viewed themselves and their appearance. So this emerged as a rebelliousness and a buck against the system. But even then, through all of that, you still had a class of black people in those times that still prioritized the classy, sophisticated aesthetic, which is why you had shows like The Cosby's, which was the #1 show in America at that time. And probably why it was created, because he still wanted to people to have that pride in feeling professional, looking professional, and acting classy and sophisticated. And that leads us to today where the average black person, still to this day heavily influenced by hip-hop culture, dresses in streetwear and designer labels. But even then, there's always been a class of black people that always prefer to dress more classy, traditional, and sophisticated. And that brings us back to this. The reason why so many of us have a problem with this aesthetic and this appearance being shown to the world as a representation of us is because many of us believe that dressing classy is an attempt of trying to be white. And it's because we don't know the history that I just explained. Too many of us, we only associate blackness with criminality, poverty, and struggle. And if any of those things aren't in a representation, we feel like that's not us. That doesn't signify or represent us. When the reality is, no people, period, in the world are a monolith, but black people specifically, we not a monolith. Even though majority of us do make less than $50,000 a year annually, there still has always been a large class of black people that are affluent. And even for those that aren't well off, there has always been a class of black people, even the ones in poverty. It's always been a class of black people that aspire to be affluent and aspire to look, dress like this, and have this kind of lifestyle. And it has nothing to do with wanting to be white or wanting white acceptance. So this new polo collection is not just a random thing that doesn't make sense. It's an ode to our history and our tradition. And that's not for everybody. Some of y'all, I know some of y'all just love streetwear, and there's nothing that's going to change that. A lot of y'all obsessed with designer labels, and there's nothing that's going to change that. But there's still a huge segment of black people that appreciate and love this style of clothing. And it's a lot of them, including myself. If you're not into class, sophistication, tradition, this right here, this collection, it ain't for you.
Very well said, and he's right. There's always a class of black people who carry themselves with dignity and decorum, and who don't follow the crowd and just doing anything, saying anything, and dressing any kind of way. Here's another point of view.
You're not the target audience for this. It wasn't meant for you, and that's okay. Why is black people being shown in a positive light such a problem for you? We didn't all grow up stealing. In fact, if I ever thought about stealing, my mom would probably put me 6 feet under. This is not one band, one sound. We are not a monolith, and we all grew up with different experiences. Not everything is out of a Tyler Perry struggle movie. The same people that have a problem with this are the same people in school talking about, look at that nigga reading. Why does he talk so white? You're so articulate. Are you trying to be white? just for simply wanting to do well in school. This collection does an excellent job in showcasing that we have diverse styles, diverse opinions within the Black community. We started dandyism, we can dress preppy, we can do great tailoring. This collection is out of your budget and that's why you're upset. That's a totally different conversation to have. But in this day and age where we have brands like American Eagle pushing eugenics with Sydney Sweeney, it's even more important to be able to have this type of representation as a part of American culture. And having a major fashion brand like Ralph Lauren doing this is giving it exactly the amount of visibility that it needs to get. Before you guys get on here with your thought pieces, actually think about people that live outside of your bubble.
Okay, sounds like he's angry. And I guess it is frustrating for young people when they're trying to do their best and put their best foot forward. And it's somebody telling you, no, you don't need to behave like that. You're trying to behave like a white person. You ought to behave like a Black person. Graduate from high school reading on the fourth grade level and not knowing your multiplication facts. And by all means, blame everything on somebody else when you become a failure in life. So that's kind of what he's sounding like. It is frustrating, but Black people have to learn to push back. There is no one way to be Black. Nobody has the formula. We can say that we are an ethnicity with a specific lineage. We can claim that. But one person cannot tell another person how to be Black or whether or not they are Black, because we really are not all the same. So I'm going to play this last video with this young man arguing with himself. I think it's interesting.
I'm just saying, bro, you don't know how it feels to wake up and not have no food in your fridge.
I don't. I actually don't. That's the thing, though. Like, I'm trying to figure out, because I grew up this way and you grew up that way, they make me what, like less Black or something? I'm confused.
Yes, bro, you don't know how it feels to wake up with 10 fucking roaches crawling all over your face and you gotta flip food stamps because it's not enough for you and your fucking 10 siblings, bro.
And you're right. I didn't. Why the fuck would I even want to do that? That's what I'm asking. Because you're making me mad. Why would I ever want to grow up like that, bro? Like, this doesn't make you better than anybody. I feel the way for you. I'm not gonna lie. Because why would your parents even put you in that situation? Like, I'm sorry my parents were responsible. Like, what are we talking about right now?
I'm just saying, bro, you never got caught in a shootout. I was 16 getting caught in a shootout. You don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that.
Why would I be in these uncomfortable situations as a teenager, bro? He's talking about you never got caught in a shootout. Hell no, I'm calling the police. What are you talking about?
See, where I'm from, we don't snitch. That's how I know. That's how I know you're not where I'm from.
You talking about snitching?
Yup, you snitching, bro.
Snitching? I absolutely don't share that same ideology. You know why? Because I didn't do anything wrong. What the fuck I like throwing my life away because another motherfucker? This is what we arguing about right now.
So that is kind of the dilemma of the Black American family / community. There is a book called I Dream a World, and it is a book that highlights successful Black American women. And Jewel Jackson McCabe had an entry in that book, and she said that Black American people are the only people that get defined by their weakest link. In other words, anything that's negative in our community becomes our identity. Excellence that we have in our community does not get highlighted. It's the poverty, it's crime, it's poor education. Anything that's considered negative is how we get defined. I think that it is time for us to add some things to expand on that, because we are more than that. And like any other community, we need examples of people who are successful. And that's what this collection represents. Many Black people really are tired of us always being on the negative end of everything. I think this is a positive thing, but let me know what you think. Thanks for listening and have a good evening.